So welcome to the next webinar in the series about how to use the Urban tab. If at any point in the explanation webinar you have any questions, feel free to either directly ask them or just write them into chat and I will answer them in a short time. This tutorial is going to focus on how you can bring your own data of, let's say, 50, 100 megabytes and how you can create an interactive application from these data sets. So first, you need to have a user account inside of the Urban tab. If you don't know how, there is a quick start on the main page that will guide you through the process. Once you have your user account and are logged in into the platform, you want to go to the community workspace. Basically, whenever you want to do something, you usually go to the community workspace. There is the community that's specific for most of the needs and possibilities how to use the platform. In this context, to bring your own data, the most relevant community is Wizard one. You either see it as the first one, or if you don't, it's possible to just look for it via the search tool. If you are not yet a member of the community, then instead of enter, you will have a join button. Join, this is a public community, so you can join by yourself. There is no intervention of the administrator of the community necessary. At the moment, you can see a few of the community applications that you can explore. Some examples and some webinars and tutorials related to what I'm going to show today. And the most important part for us at the moment is the administration. The administration is the application inside of the Wizard Visualization and Application Toolbox that allows you to create metadata contexts and upload the data and link the metadata contexts into the data so that the users can explore them and you can share them as the interactive application. So first, we need to prepare the metadata that are relevant for our application. I won't be creating them now. I've created them before the session, but I will go one by one through the concepts that were created. So first concept that's necessary is the concept of scope. This is some kind of encapsulation that keeps together the data, the analytical units, the layers, everything that you have in one place and want the user to be able to analyze together. As you can see in the scope, you can name it, you have a description that's available in the Wizard. You can select the analytical units levels. I will get back to the analytical levels a bit later. Imaging/reference periods. This one is just for one, but it's possible to have the multi-year periods. And active for URLs. This is relevant because it's possible to have custom URLs for your specific application other than the Urban tab one. Each scope, in order to be functioning, needs to have some place. You can have many places in one scope, but in this example that I'm showing, I've created one to simplify it. And the example has some area that it is related to, and the scope it belongs to, nothing else. It's possible to set the bounding box using the map underneath the bounding box. So with this in place, you have the 4 key metadata concepts: place, scope, analytical units level, and imaging reference period. Analytical units level, now is more or less the right time for it, represents the vector information that will be shown as the units for which the charts and the web application will be created. good example would be city districts, for example. One of the levels could be the whole city. Second level could be the city districts. And if you have more detailed internal boundaries in the city, you can go below the districts. In that case, you will have 3 analytical units level. This is visible in the WSF 2015 example. That's available again also in the VISAT community. In order to allow us not just show the layers itself and show the information, but also show the statistical information available potentially in the vector layers, we need to look at the theme, topic, attribute set, and attribute. Theme and topic are working together to provide you with encapsulation of the attribute values that you will map from the vector data. So in this case, before the presentation, I've downloaded a subset of units with calculation of the population, urban area, non-urban area, and administrative area. I decided that in this tutorial, I will go through the two urban-related attributes, and this is going to be the population and urban area. Therefore, I created first the attribute set urban. Then, in the topic, I've created by adding the urban topic. And then underneath, I've added the population attribute. If we take a look at the attribute have some amount of information that you can select. First is the type. It's possible to have either numeric attributes, textual attributes, or Boolean attributes. Whether it's numeric, textual, or Boolean is relevant in the filtering tools in the VISAT. It's also possible to select either standard units, which means basically area units. Standard in this case means that there are tools to automatically switch between these units. So if the source data are in square meters, it's still possible to display the data in the square kilometers or in hectares. Or in case it's not area, it's probably possible to provide custom units that will be displayed in the charts and the legends for choropleths. Column name and valid choices are relevant in some specific cases, for example, for automated mapping of attributes, or for very specific cases where the user has the possibility to select between values. Below, as the last part, is also color, and it's possible to specify any of the colors of the scale directly by clicking on it and selecting the ones that you are interested in. Once you are satisfied with how your attribute looks like, you click on Save. The color is relevant because it's used in the charts and in the choropleths. In case of choropleths or having multiple years in the charts, we use this color as a source and then derive the similar colors by changing the intensity of the color. So at the moment, we have topic, attribute set, and attribute. Last thing that remains that's like another encapsulation that allows us to distinguish between the data is theme. For theme, we create a theme that has some name, that's visible in the VISAT, belongs to some scope, and contains multiple topics. Topics are also visible in the VISAT when you are selecting the attributes that you want to show. So it's, again, another way how you can encapsulate the data so that it's possible to guide the user somehow through the usage of the tool. This is the moment when we have all the necessary metadata needed to provide a layer for analysis. To provide the layers themselves, we need to go to the Data Layers tab Here we have the button to upload. And by clicking on it, we have a form that allows us to upload the layer. It accepts either GeoTIFFs for the raster data that we want just to display in the wizard, or zip shapefiles for the data that we want to use as a source for analysis. We select any of the zip shapefiles we have. In this case, I've prepared one beforehand, areas of interest. And we can name it whatever we like. This case is the mid population sized regions. So I will click on upload and then wait until the data are uploaded and processed. We can see the progress on the top. Now the data should be integrated. Afterwards, the data will be visible here. As you can see, now we have the mid-population sized regions available here. As the layer is the same as the AOI, I will show on the AOI what I did. And I will show it now on the mid-population sized regions. So first thing that you do is to specify layer type. There is either vector layer, raster layer, or analytical units layer. The key one is analytical units layer. This specifies the areas that are relevant, basically areas of interest that will be shown as the baseline. Vector layer and raster layer are shown in the map, and in case of vector layer, could be used as the input source into the analysis of vector data versus vector data. As you can see on the size now, we also now have the preview of the layer we uploaded. It was generated meanwhile. So if we specify analytical units layer, we need to provide the metadata that explains to the wizard system how it should handle it. So first we say that it belongs to the exploratory scope. We say that it belongs to the place world, and that it belongs to the level of interesting areas. In this simple example, I'm not going into more complex hierarchies, but it is possible to create complex hierarchies of the analytical units where you can go through them. The example is very well visible in the analysis of the world settlement footprint. In order for the layer to be fully available, we need to do a few more things. First is to select the feature identifier. It's not really that relevant what's going to be the feature identifier. Only necessary thing is that it's unique. Then, and of course, also if you don't select feature name, feature identifier is what will be displayed to the user. If you don't want the feature identifier to be displayed, you need to select the feature name, which is then what's going to be displayed to the user. In this tabular data, we see all the columns that were available in the original vector data. The names are exactly the same as in the zip shapefile. So as the data are being brought by you, you will know what does it mean. In this case, I brought the total population, administrative area, urban area, and non-urban area. Average light intensity, aggregated light intensity, and relative effective area of light. For this example, though, I will only go to map the total population and urban area. As you can see, when I click on this select, it will provide me with all the available attributes that I can use in this context. So I use population and urban area. It is also necessary to describe to what year the data belongs. This is necessary because if you have multiple year data, it's then possible to display them in the chart, in the maps and charts side by side. So this is basically all that you need to map the analytical units layer. Now we would click on save. and it will process it for, let's say, 30 seconds to half a minute to 2 minutes, and then it will be ready. How do you know that it's ready? The next step that allows you to explore what you already mapped and prepared is places. In places, you will find the places you've already created. So in this case, it's only world. And here you will see all the things that are already mapped in the context of specific place. If the place is mapped properly and you have all the necessary things to create the application to work in, there is this create initial data view for this location. If you click on it, it will create a data view that's then going to be available in Wizard. If you have something mapped and click on it, you can see what attributes that it belongs to, what is the analytical unit level, and what's the source layer that you used to get this information from. Now I have prepared a full application that's possible to use and explore. To explore it, I need to go to the analytical toolbox. It's on the top, the third from the left. When I click on it, I will see all the applications that are available for me. Some of them are branded, such as UrbanTab, AO4SD Urban, World Bank Group, Climate Fit City, GISAT, and United Nations. And the new ones that I've created that are not yet branded are under the other scope. So in this case, I can see the exploratory scope here. I've already created one data view before. That's the way how to get into the application. So I can select any of these, they are the same. Clicking on this data view will bring me to the initial analytical view of the Wizard. Here, in this case, we can see that we are in the place world under the urban theme in the period 2015. If we had multiple periods, we will have selections and possibility to choose more than one at the moment. In the layers, we can see some of the background layers that we can use. CartoDB base map is the one displayed at the moment. And area outlines that will show us the areas that we uploaded. Generation of the area outlines takes some time, so I'm not going to show them at the moment. It won't show in the next few minutes, I expect. What we can show meanwhile, though, is the possibility to show the information we mapped in the chart. An example for this case could be a column chart where we provide the information about the urban area. Here you can see that you have a urban topic, and underneath you have urban attribute set. So if you would have a multiple attribute sets, it will be visible in the tree here. So we can add the urban area. Here you can see the urban area in the charts then. And as I said, it's possible to modify the units for other units than just the square meters. So here you have the square meter area in specific areas. In the areas, you also see the places that were mapped in the vector layer, for example, California in this case. It's possible to limit the selection to only selected data. It's of course possible to select multiple places and compare them. And in areas filter, you can filter based on the values. This is already covered in previous tutorials, so I'm not going into more detail at the moment, but it's potentially relevant. As at the moment you integrated the analytical units, there is another tool that's relevant for bringing new data, and that's AddLayer. Via AddLayer, it's possible to connect WMS to this application or load from a file. Load from a file, if you provide the GeoTIFF layer, also directly processes the zonal statistics for the provided areas. Basically what it does is that it can calculate minimum, maximum, and average for each band provided in the GeoTIFF, and map it as attributes that you could use. So this is all about bringing new data and new application into UrbanTap that you can do directly. If you have some product that's, for example, global, and you want to bring this global data sets to the platform to allow the address to use the processors on it, it's necessary to create a ticket, and we will help you to do it. This way, it's possible to set up high-performance WMS layers. It's possible to introduce it into the two data centers or three data centers that are at the moment used by UrbanTap, and it's then possible to run the processors on top of it. This exact thing about how to run the processor, how to integrate the processor, I will cover in the next webinar series. So this is at the moment all from me.